Chancellor Ken Clarke, who joins us now from Westminster. Good evening, Mr. Clarke.
Evening.
What was the big story for you this budget?
Oh, I was reassured by this. It was strong, steady hand stuff. He did not give in to all the pressures to start paying out money to all these various lobbies on a Corbyn-like basis. I thought the things he concentrated on, particularly going for the housing market, were the right priorities. I didn't agree with it all, but mainly I was extremely glad that it was trying to be a responsible budget. It was taking account of what I think, unlike Roger Bootle, will be the rather uncertain and perhaps weakened state of the economy for the next 2 or 3 years. So I was quite reassured that he hadn't given in to all the short-term political buffeting that he'd been subjected to, like every other Chancellor always is, before a budget.
What about the capital investment? I mean, the Chancellor does seem to have tried to target a bit of money towards that. Do you think that's going to work?
Well, I think infrastructure investment is perfectly okay. He cited the very big projects we already have underway, particularly like Crossrail and HS2 and HS3. That's fine, although in themselves they don't cure the economic problems that we have, but they're a good basis for the future. I like what he said about technology. I hope someone's going to follow up on what he said about skills training and helping people get themselves up to speed for the modern economy. They're the things that matter. And that's the judgment you should apply to a budget. All these forecasts are always uncertain, economic forecasts. You've just got to use the best you can get. Next week's headlines will be a load of old rubbish and will be forgotten by next Christmas. What matters if in a couple of years' time it does look as though your budget decisions have helped recovery, growth, some stability, jobs and so on. And this was the Chancellor aiming at that, I think. I think that was his long-term vision, which Roger was just talking about.
And there's been this is, in terms of fiscal easing, this is probably the biggest that we've seen since the financial crisis. Would you have done this?
Yeah, I'm surprised it turns out it was so big. I was rather relieved that he hadn't gone in for too much fiscal easing. I mean, he's got a bit of leeway, but not very much. I think I just about forgive him for going this far. He did one or two things that I wouldn't have bothered to do myself, and although politically he's in an impossible situation, we have no majority, and some backbenchers 6 emails and they're anybody's. You know, I would have tried to tighten up perhaps a little bit more than him. So obviously, despite his reputation, he's no more a fiscal hawk than I am, and he hasn't. This isn't mad fiscal loosening, and as has just been said, the outlook for the stock of debt and the outlook for the deficit more encouraging for a long time. If the ABR is anywhere near right, they will start coming back to more sensible levels. Indeed, the annual deficit's almost there now.
Okay. Let's take a trip down memory lane, Mr. Clarke. Picture of you presenting your last budget, enjoying a whiskey at the dispatch box. What would you advise Philip Hammond to have drunk today?
Well, I was followed by a Scotsman who didn't want to drink whiskey. I mean, it was quite extraordinary. Everybody but Gladstone had drunk something. I've no idea what tipple I have chosen today, but something. He probably had to be a rather more sober day. He claimed he had something in a carafe, but he didn't in the end turn to use it. Given the outlook he faced before he came to draw this, and given all the attacks the Eurosceptics were launching on him, I personally probably would have needed a dram before facing the House, but there we are.
All right, Ken Clarke, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.